So I understood pretty quickly that Bitcoin just fucking works. And the only thing I want my money to do is just work.
Hey everybody, this is the High Hash Rate Podcast. I'm Mike.
And I'm Dan.
And this podcast is just two plebs getting high and talking about Bitcoin, life, and the absurdity of the fiat world. Our guests don't necessarily get high with us, and you don't have to either.
But it helps.
Bear with me.
Okay. This meeting is being recorded, guys. I just got notified.
Oh yeah, now you're official.
I'm gonna click. Yeah, I'm gonna hit my consent. I'm giving consent to you two.
This is gonna be uploaded as an inscription as an ordinal inscription on the blockchain. This whole episode.
Fuck you. I'm out. Hey, can we swear on this? Do you guys swear?
Oh,
swear,
yeah, you can swear as much as you want.
Of course.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure, but
I'm going to refer to Dan. I just have to say, who am I speaking with tonight, or who's here?
Well, first of all, we have a big announcement to make. We haven't, the episodes have been coming out, but we haven't been recording in a couple of weeks.
Oh, we're going into that. Okay.
And part of the right reason is because Mike, the day after Valentine's Day, you just welcomed your second child into the world. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, man. It's a big deal. Thank you for that intro.
We
on that subject.
I used the op return to put a message on the blockchain, the block that he was born at. So that's going to be on there forever.
Did you actually?
Yeah, he did. It was a very sweet gesture. I got to say, it's like from one Bitcoiner to another who doesn't know how to do that shit. Like, and understanding what that means, at least to me, like I talk to other people about it. They're like, oh, why is that important? Like, who cares? Like, you just describe your fucking son's name in the blockchain for all eternity. Like, whatever. Like, anyway, who are we speaking with tonight? That's what I got.
Yeah. Well, today we have a friend of mine who I actually met through Bitcoin, through Twitter, that I've known since, I don't know, the early days of the late days of the 2020 bull run beginning in early 21. Been on his podcast 3 times. Why Bitcoin? It's Doug, Bearded Hodl. Hey Doug.
Good day, friends. How are you?
Pretty good. And what is that? So I usually eat an edible. Mike's usually high and forgets everything. What are you smoking on? Looks like a nice pipe that you.
First of all, I'm drinking Glenmorangie La Santa.
Very nice.
Well, and then dove all in on this one, Doug.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, well, it gets better. My brother introduced me to this shit right here. This is called Old Toby from I can't make it work, but it's
Old Toby
Country Squire out of Georgia.
Now, Old Toby, that bag was a little blurry. Is that like an old dog? Is that the ashes that's left over? You're smoking that?
Yeah, actually it's my grandmother. I'm smoking my grandmother right now. No,
is it legal? Is it legal in Georgia?
What?
This is not weed. This is pipe smoke.
Yeah, he's
pipe smoke. So old. What is this thing called?
Old Toby.
Old Toby.
Old Toby is a tobacco for the pipe.
It's a reference to Lord of the Rings. So if you guys watch the movie Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Rings? No, it's The Hobbit. At the beginning, Bilbo and Gandalf are smoking Old Toby. So they named it's a beautiful blend. I love it a lot. So it smells really
nice.
Good. Shout out to my brother for turning me on to it, because he's my younger brother, but he's really smart about this shit. So
nice. I used to smoke Newports, so kind of the same thing. Doug, you don't know. So just to clarify, you don't partake at all in the cannabis. Yeah.
I never have. Well, it's not 100% true, but for the most part, I don't. So
yeah, we've gone back and forth on that a little bit, not like arguing on Twitter. I was just wondering.
I
wanted to clarify your position.
Older,
You're on
I'm fine with it. I don't care. It's just one of those things that I've not really ever gotten into. It's not. I'm probably pro more than anything else. It's just not one of those things that like it's
fair enough.
Something I do. So,
do you have one of these vices that you're really into? One of these kinds of like
You're looking at it.
I mean, yeah, you're looking at both of them. So I just
nice.
showed you my bottle and my good smoke, my good tobacco. So yeah, no, I do like laying back with a good scotch or a good bourbon, and then smoking a pipe or a cigar. That's how I relax. In fact, tonight is my relax night where like I go into the garage, I close the door, I turn on some old time tunes from the 1940s. And so this is really nice because I'm pretty mellow. Normally I'm kind of and I'm got to be honest, guys, I'm a little nervous being on your show because I've never been on someone's podcast before.
Oh, I was going to ask this question. This is something I was interested in. Like,
Interesting. So how many episodes have you recorded of Why Bitcoin? And we'll get into a little more of that in a minute. Over 100. And
over 100 episodes. How often do you guys record?
Every week.
Every week. Okay.
And then so we have a 24, what is it? We have a 24 episode season, and then we take 1 week off in between each season. So but between that and then doing some extra ones here and there, we're well over 100 at this point.
When did that officially start? So to put a little context in, I met Jeff on Twitter. He was blowing me up about BlockFi or something like that, like wondering what it was about. He was anti, but he was wondering about it. And this was like late 2020, early 21. And that's how I kind of met him. And I quickly realized that he did the podcast, and I tuned into it right away. And it was pretty early. Like there wasn't that many episodes. So I was wondering when you started that.
That would have probably been, I want to say early 21. So like,
yeah,
February, maybe January, something like that. Because he got to me about Bitcoin late 20. And that's kind of where it all started. So he and I have known each other for many years. We actually also met through Twitter, oddly enough. But yeah, he came at me late 20, I believe. And he was like
hitting that crazy phase.
Yeah. He the way he tells it is that he lost his mind and he didn't sleep for like a week, and just dove all the way down the rabbit hole and then freaked out. And I think he even admitted to like curling up in the fetal position and crying for like a while.
Yeah, I think he said that on our show.
Fuck you, Jeff. All right. Anyways, I have to give him shit, dude. I have to give him shit. So because I know he's going to listen to this. As a matter of fact, he was telling me I need to get really lubricated so that I'm really honest, because he wants to hear my honest opinion on shit. Because apparently he thinks I'm holding back. Well, I don't know. Whatever.
Interesting.
I think it's so hard to get an honest opinion when you're being recorded, and you know it.
At this point, I'm old enough. I don't give a shit. I really don't. So ask away, boys. Let's do this.
And you know what? I didn't even want to start doing this because I actually fell on Mike's perspective of the things, and I didn't. But I wanted to be. It's not that I didn't want to be. I wanted to be, but I didn't know if I had the courage of conviction to like really stand up for it and say it in case it took off and got lots of downloads. And then I finally decided I did, and that changed everything for me. But
really,
yeah, it was kind of a realization I had. I stopped being nervous about it because I was like, no, this is exactly what I believe, and I don't care who hears it.
Yeah.
Why did you start a podcast with?
Yeah, well, let's back up a little bit because I want to get into that. But so he comes to you, and that what he's told me, and he said on the show, and what you just said that he came to the way he came to you sounds crazy. Sounds like something you would say to a friend, like, "Hey, man, maybe you should go to sleep and get some get some rest."
I didn't realize exactly how neurotic he was at that moment in time. He came to me like a rational person, like, because we're internet friends. We've never met IRL, so but we've known each other for years. You know, we used to do Twitch, not together, but we both had Twitch channels.
Right.
So
is that where you're like playing video games?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was big into Hearthstone, and I would actually do like cooking shows. Like that was kind of my thing. I loved to do. I didn't want to do gaming because I'm old, so I suck at gaming. Like no one's gonna watch an old man play gaming, right? So I was like, I'm gonna do something interesting and still have a community, and it's gonna be fine. So I ended up doing leatherworking on my stream for the most part, and then also every Saturday I would do a cooking show. And Jeff was always very supportive of my cooking show. Like he would always come in, he'd ask questions, he would talk, he would, make the chat happen. Like he and I were both super low level Twitch guys. Like I don't want to make it sound like we were anything big, but we formed a really interesting bond in the sense that he was just coming up. I had been doing it, I think, a couple months longer than him. And he put out this post on Twitter where he was like, I'm only like 5 or 3. It's for Twitch. It's different than YouTube. It's not subs. It's follows. I think it's been so long. I don't remember. But anyways, I'm only like 3 follows away from getting what they call affiliate. And affiliate means you actually start to get paid, which was exciting for him, and it's exciting for anybody. And I was like, oh, I have a fairly good following, so I just blasted it out, and I'm just like, I got you covered, bro. And I told my followers just go follow him, and then like he got affiliate like right away after that. And so that's how we met. I just found a random post from some dude in Canada, and ever since then we've kind of been friends. So it's been cool.
What did you cook? Like were you barbecuing, grilling?
No. So what I tried to do was I tried to be sort of like a Julia Child of Twitch kind of a thing, where I would do a dish, but I would show all the pieces of it. I would show technique. I would show, little tricks and tips kind of a thing. No one ever cared. I'm going to be honest with you. You fucking young people, you just don't give a shit about good cooking at all. So
what made you start doing that? I mean, you first of all, what do you do by day? What's your trade?
Well, by day I am a stay-at-home father, and by night I do leatherwork. So
leatherwork. So yeah. So
sounds like a nice existence right there.
How have you done leatherwork your whole life?
Of course you're like a whiskey man. You're like doing fucking leather work.
Yeah.
I'm very into the senses. One might say I'm very sensual, Mike. You know what I'm saying? So.
It's an old school man. So you're doing leather work, you're doing cooking shows, and then what was your background, or what was your knowledge of Bitcoin up before the end of 2020?
That's a great question, Dan. I'm really glad you asked it. Well, back in 2017, I had a friend who said, you should really check out Bitcoin. And I promptly told him, fuck you, that's a Ponzi scheme. I'm not interested. And I ignored him on all subjects economic for a good 5 years. Then Jeff comes to me, and I had already built the trust with Jeff.
The video game guy.
Video game
only
guy.
From the
random
internet
dude, of course. But no, the way Jeff came to me, he was so sincere about it. And at the time, we were right in the middle of the Rona, right? And it just worked out well, because I had just watched are you guys familiar with Tim Pool?
Yeah.
Okay. I had just watched an episode of Tim Pool where he was talking about how much money the United States had printed during COVID. And I was like, holy crap, this is not sustainable. This is not going to work. And then Jeff literally like that day or the day after, like literally the day after, was like, you really need to check this out. Because he had already hit me once, and then he came back at me again. He was like, you really need to check this out. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that, because the monetary system is super fucked. So I need to check this out and just see what's going on. So that's really how that came about. And then I shitcoined for a little bit. Jeff made fun of me mercilessly until I gave that up. I BlockFi'd for a little bit until Jeff actually no. Jeff wasn't responsible for me quitting BlockFi. BlockFi couldn't get out of their own fucking way. So I was like, okay, because that was when they like issued like 700 Bitcoin erroneously or something.
Yes.
I remember that. And
it was like 800.
I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't need this shit. I don't need that happening. So I'm just Bitcoin only and no yield, and good morning, go fuck yourself. So
it's funny because the first time I came on Why Bitcoin, I wouldn't say shilling. You guys were kind of interventioning on me for putting a bunch of money on I spread it out between the now defunct BlockFi, the now defunct Celsius, Nexo, and a few others. I was like, dude, 10%, like that's so much better than a savings account, better than the reported inflation rate. And thank God I got all that stuff off way before any of those things tanked. But I feel if you're listening and you listen to that one and you're like, oh, I'm going to do it too, and you ended up losing money, well, I'm not responsible. Do your own research.
Yeah, I remember that first episode, man. We were kind of, Jeff and I were kind of going back and forth because you were doing some sort of like educational thing, right? Like
that's how it started. Heartlandbitcoin.com. It was kind of similar to Swan in a lot of ways. It was just like education. I didn't have anything that you could buy it on, but it was going to be kind of like a private, anybody in like the Midwest, they wanted a trusted source. I'd help them. For a fee, I'd guide them through how to do it, help them, answer their calls, produce guides, things like that. And then I think I got like 2.
You had some good guides. I mean, I did appreciate what you're doing, and I think if you recall, I was pro what
you were very much. But because it was 99%
way back then.
In terms of
what's that?
So you guys go way back, all of you guys.
Essentially to the beginning of the last cycle. Everything moves in epochs. So yeah.
Yep.
And so from the day that Jeff came to you to the day you guys launched the podcast, how long was that? How much time did you have to learn? Weeks.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's why I was still shitcoining. That was why I was still BlockFiing and everything else, because I was just, I kind of missed doing something because I had given up Twitch like, I don't know, maybe like a year and a half before that. And this seemed like an opportunity for me to still kind of be in that sphere, but be more of myself. The problem with Twitch is you got to toe like the political line. You can't step outside those lines because your audience will fucking end you. Twitch will end you. They'll take away any sort of monetization. And so I was constantly on toes, I was constantly like, can't say this. Like I once got yelled at, dudes. Listen to this shit. I was playing a scary game, right? Because I occasionally would play video games. And there's something that scared the shit out of me. So I screamed, like high-pitched, panicked scream, right? And everyone's laughing in the chat, and I'm laughing. It was a good time. And I'm like, Jesus, I just screamed like a little bitch, didn't I? I got yelled at by like 2 or 3 people from my chat that were like, why? What do you mean like a bitch? You mean like a girl? Like girls scream like it's bad if you scream like a girl? And I was like, the fuck? What? Yes, if I'm a dude, it's bad if I scream like a girl. I'm sorry, it just is. Like guys don't want to scream like girls. If you can't handle that, that's on you. But that's the kind of shit you would get on Twitch all the time, And then, of course, I'm competing with like hot tub streamers. And listen, boys, I'm a little overweight, but I'm still only a B cup. So like I'm not really gonna compete with them. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying.
Fair enough. But that's interesting. It's interesting that you guys both had the Twitch streams, because I knew that you guys had just started that show, but the flow, the way you guys talked, I mean, it sounded like you guys had done that before. It sounded like a professional production from the get-go. And I appreciate, that's what drew me in. That's what drew me in, and I started listening right away. Yeah, so I just wanted to say that I think it's
thank you. I appreciate
I think you guys do a great job. I think it's really well done, and you've had some awesome guests. You had Gigi, which is still the kind of the white whale for me to get on here.
He's probably my top, present company accepted, top three.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was a great episode. So if you haven't listened to that one, go back. I think it was April or May of 2021. So that should give you a good.
I would love to have him back.
So
him and Batters were like the most fucking real. They were fucking great. I loved them both.
So how do you feel now that you used to have that decent following on Twitch, now that you can get sat streamed to you via the Lightning Network over a Twitch stream?
Honestly, it's great. I love it. It's fine. But I love the fact that I can say what I want. That's what I like. I like the fact that Bitcoiners are the types of people who they'll take what I'm saying and they'll process it, and either they'll blast me for it if they want, which is fine, but it's a legitimate blasting. It's not, oh, what's wrong with screaming like a girl? No, it's like, no, here's where you're wrong with your concept, right? Like Jeff all the time was like, here's where you're wrong with yield. This is why you shouldn't yield, because you're the fucking yield, right? That's the kind of information that's not information. That's the kind of criticism I'm accepting. You know, like I'll deal with real criticism. This woke bullshit, I just can't do it, man. I just can't. Like I can't keep up with it. It's too much, you know. So the idea that Bitcoiners are people who, for the most part, right? There's a couple of outliers who like somehow they're still in the sphere and I don't get them, and I'm not going to cause any drama. I don't want to get you guys in trouble, but like there are some Bitcoiners that like they're just there for the fucking argument, you know? They're just there for the drama. I don't want that shit. I'm not interested. So
that's why we're here at High Hash Rate, is the drama.
Oh, is it? Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
yeah, this
pick,
the deep,
pick a
the
Bitcoiner
hard
and I'll
hitting,
start a fight for you guys. Don't
the
worry about
hard
it.
hitting interviews. No, this made me think like it's like we are a generation of people that are trying to discover what is real. Just that's the most important question. It's like, what is
and it's
reality?
Getting harder and harder. It's getting
exactly.
harder and harder. Deep fakes, AI. You never know what's
Dude, those deep fakes are getting crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you can't trust anything.
It always seems like Bitcoiners come back to this concept of reality a lot better, and they tend to be leather workers and like workers, basically proof of work people.
Yep, producers, exactly. Yeah, Jeff is a construction worker. I've worked with my hands my whole life. That was one of the reasons why I got back into leatherwork, actually, because like I did the corporate scene for a while. I actually managed a Games Workshop, which was, honest to God, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Games Workshop, but it was the most baller job ever. I literally painted miniatures and played like tabletop board games with my clients. That was it. It was awesome. But it was still very super corporate.
Can you explain what that is?
Games Workshop is a British company. They create Warhammer 40K and Warhammer. So it's a tabletop game. You paint your miniatures, you know, and then you put your miniatures out on the table, and then you have armies, and those armies fight the other guy's armies. It's a lot of fun. Like if your audience knows Henry Cavill's a big Warhammer guy. I'm actually really excited about. I hope he does a fucking Warhammer program or a show or a movie or something like that. That'd be really cool. So it was a really cool thing, but it was like super corporate, where it was like I had to beat my previous year's sales every quarter, right? So like every month, actually. Like they would be like,
yo, that's
okay,
some
so
Fiat shit right there for sure.
It's super Fiat shit, dude. It was like, okay, so in 98 you did like 30,000 in sales, so you better have in 96 in July you better have you better have like 31,000. Like it was literally that kind of progression you had to have. So I mean, it was one of those things where I just had to walk away from it, because it was like I can't sustain. Like it's not like there's only so many people in my area that are into this particular thing, you know, called Warhammer. And like you just can't. And the other thing is, you don't want to keep soaking them, you know. You just didn't want to keep oh, buy this, you know, buy that. Like I was very laid back when it came to that shit. It was like I don't know, I just yeah, it's frustrating, because I love Warhammer, I love 40,000, I love the lore, I love the books, I love all of that shit. But it was one of those things where Fiat just fucking ruined it, you know, ruined it.
So that was like driving down your mental and physical health, I assume. Or just
definitely mental. It made it very hard, because you always like, so every quarter, Games Workshop would send us somewhere for a conference, right? We would all get together, like the entire North American sales staff would get together in like Vegas or Houston or Denver, whatever. And we'd all get together and we would like oorah and shit like that and rub each other's crew cuts or whatever the fuck we would do. And we would like you know, we would all talk about like good sales strategy and shit like that, but there were so many dudes that like actually got fired at those meetings. Like there was, I remember one dude, he just found out his wife got pregnant, and they literally said, if you don't like, they because we were all like kind of walking out to the buses to the airport and shit, and they like pulled him aside, and they were like, if you don't have your numbers up in 2 weeks, you're fucking fired. And then he had to get on the bus with all the rest of us, and we're all like, what's going on? And they told us, and we're like, Jesus Christ. So it was always that thing where you're like, I could be fired anytime. Like I could just be gone. And so how do you build with that? How do you move forward with that? How do you, I got 4 kids. Like how do I maintain with that kind of bullshit, So
very high time preference incentive.
Super
interesting. So when you talk about the lore that you liked of these games, what about, and there's not so much history in terms of years, but the Bitcoin lore, do you get into that? Do you get into like reading the old forum posts or reading about about Satoshi or developers or anything like that? Or is that a different thing that interests you a lot less?
So I'm going to be honest. I'm probably a really bad Bitcoiner because I understood pretty quickly that Bitcoin just fucking works. And the only thing I want my money to do is just work. Like I don't get into the I'm kind of I don't know. I'm kind of, I don't want to say like I'm a rugged individualist or some shit like that, but it's like I'm not in it necessarily for the memes. They're fun, they're fine, they're whatever. But like I just want my money to work. That's it. I don't have a whole lot of time for the I've read the white paper. There you go, Jeff. I've said it publicly now. I've read the white paper. Thank you. But the whole mythos behind it, like I like the idea of Hal. I think Hal's pretty cool. I wish he'd been around still. I definitely hate like CSW. Fuck that guy. I'm very defensive. Yep, fake Toshi. He can go suck a dick. I'm definitely defensive of Bitcoin in terms of don't fuck with it. And in fact, on your, when you were just on last time, we very much talked about ordinals and stuff like that. And, I said what I said there, and I'll say it again. Just don't fuck with layer 1. Just leave that be because it works. Let it go and do anything else. I don't care. Just let my money work. That's all I'm asking. Don't fuck with it. So the whole idea of who was Satoshi doesn't really matter to me. You got people that are like, Bitcoin is spiritual. Bitcoin is the new Jesus or whatever the hell they're doing. I'm a Christian. You're not going to convince me of that shit. So that's a non-starter, and it's like, I just want my money to work. Like for the first time in 46 years, we have a money, and 46 is my age. So for the first time in 46 years, I have a money that actually works. Just please don't fuck with it. Just don't screw it up. That's all I'm asking. It's pretty simple.
As a Christian, you said 46-year-old Christian?
Yes, sir. Just
as a 46-year-old Christian with 4 kids. Do you see?
Well, technically 5. I apologize. I just want to say that because in case my eldest daughter ever listens, I do have 5 children. She's older. She's from a previous marriage. So she's older, so she's out of the house. Okay, 5 kids. Go ahead.
Do you think there's a connection between Bitcoin and God?
How do you mean? Yeah, let me to contextualize a little bit because we talked about it on here before.
Yeah, always comes in with a little bit of.
I don't want to shy away from this. I absolutely want to do this. I just want to have.
So we talk about like learning what's real or being drawn to what's real, and it's kind of however you want to interpret or believe it. Essentially, like the Christian message is that God created the world, and so everything in it is his creation. So all the laws of physics, mathematics, all of these things are built in, designed, woven into the fabric of the reality we live in. And Bitcoin is a digital abstract concept, but it follows strictly and is protected by the encryption. All of this stuff is enabled by these laws, these mathematical concepts. So it's the connection would be, if you're looking at it metaphorically, like it's God's money, similar to gold. It is, you can't fake it. You can't.
This is where I always had Kiyosaki always says.
I was going to say that's very Kiyosaki.
Bitcoin, like gold, he says gold is God's money and Bitcoin is the people's money. And I always think it's sort of reversed or something like this. I always think it is God's money.
So yeah, that's the kind of connection we dive into in conversations on here sometimes.
When Jesus was confronted by the Pharisees, right, about the coin, the denarius, I think it was called, right? The Pharisees came to him and they say, who should we pay taxes to Caesar, right? That whole, I think it's Luke, right? I'm not that good of a Christian, to be honest. Like, I don't have it chapter and verse, but the Pharisees come to him and they say, should we pay taxes? And it's a trap, right? They're setting a trap for Jesus because they want him gone. They hate this rabble rouser. They hate this guy. They want to trap him. And if he says, don't pay taxes, they turn around, they go to the Romans. He's incarcerated. He's out of the picture. That's what they want, right? He turns and he says, render under Caesar what is Caesar's. And I don't think that God cares about money. Honestly, I think if you look at the scriptures, especially, God only cares about your eternal soul. That's all he cares about. Now, do I think that stuff like Bitcoin can be God inspired? Absolutely.
Yes. There you go.
Yes.
That's, I think, what we're talking about.
Yes. So, do I think that yeah, that's kind of my answer, is that I don't.
Right. Like he gave us tools.
He gave us tools, right?
Right. And it's a tool.
It's not any different than
the
ability to have opposable thumbs, right? Like, he gave us opposable thumbs. What you do with it, that's up to you, man. But
they just work, right? That's all you care about. You have these tools and all you care about is that they just work. And you can always count on them to work because they are the same objective truth over and over and over and over and over and over again. You can always,
I will say, yes, I will say that I think Jesus is truth. And I do think Bitcoin is also truth. And that makes it appealing to me on both, from both of those standpoints. So,
do you ever think that people on Twitter, maxis, are similar to Pharisees in a lot of ways?
I think
I thought about
the people on Twitter.
Not everybody, just the certain people who it's like, this is exactly what the orthodoxy is. And we're gonna put this stuff out here, and if you deviate, we're gonna pile in. You're gonna get ratioed.
Mike is just laughing over there.
Well, come up around your house and ratio you.
Do you think that mining or fees to miners is taxes? Go. What do you say, Jason Lowry?
What do you guys think about Jason Lowry, man? I can't pin that guy down. Is he a spook or not?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm glad you asked that specific question.
So I also have an opinion. Go ahead.
I don't think to be a spook that you have to be on the payroll. I think that I think the CIA pays a very good amount of money to make sure that a lot of people, or, they spend it on marketing and movies and public policy to make sure that they don't have to have you on a payroll, that if your incentives are aligned with people like the CIA or the state in general, that is enough to make you a spook, even if you're not knowingly coming in with a paycheck to do a job. I think if your incentives are aligned with the state and with just the fiat world, that makes you a spook. So in that sense of the question, I would say it's up for everybody else to judge, but I would say yes. I
would answer that even more simply. My own question, because I'm kind of used to asking questions and not having to answer them. But from what I hear, dude doesn't take Bitcoin for his own book. Like, he only has it through Amazon.
Well, that's all you need to. Yeah, that's all you need to know, I guess.
I
Mike,
don't know.
what
I
is
mean, I
your-
could be
Wait,
wrong.
wait,
I
wait.
could be
He
wrong.
doesn't take Bitcoin for his book. He only goes through Amazon.
That's what I've read. I mean, I've not investigated, to be fair, but that's what
That's
I've
an
read.
interesting. I don't know. I think less about Jason Lowery's sort of personal, persona.
Yeah.
And more because that has weaknesses that people are always like pointing to.
Sure.
But I think about the thing that he put forward, which was Bitcoin as a weapon system, or
Okay.
to this degree, something like this.
Yeah, it's like proof of work is like a national defense.
A national defense system, right?
System, but yeah, it's more of it's a national defense issue.
Attributing it to some sort of like no one was talking about how it like
It's
applies
force.
to war.
It's
exactly.
force. Yeah, it's applying.
He always talks about watts and shit.
Force projection.
So I think that him bringing that forward was actually very interesting and made me think about Bitcoin in a different way. So I couldn't say that the things that he brings forward aren't valuable to me, at least.
Yeah, I said
who
the same
he is,
thing.
I don't.
Yeah, I said the same thing about ordinals and inscriptions on Doug's podcast. I said that, and I thought about this a little bit more since then. And it doesn't seem to be a very what's the Lindy, like something that stays popular for very long. It seems like a fad, but it does seem to have people really rethinking or thinking differently about managing UTXOs. So in that sense, some good has maybe come out of it.
Have you read?
I don't know if it outweighs the bad. No, I have not. Have you?
No, I won't. I'm not going to pay $40 for that shit. But I will say this. His principle, his idea, like, and that's, and again, I haven't read any of his stuff because honestly, he kind of talks in like political / economic / mathematical jargon, and I'm just not smart enough. I'm just gonna be honest. I'm not smart enough for that shit. So I will say
you
this.
are.
maybe that's why you don't listen to it.
Doubtful, super doubtful. But his idea that Bitcoin is a weapon, okay? If we're going to call truth Bitcoin is truth. Truth is a weapon, right? And going back to my Christian roots, right? Like Christ talks about this idea, especially in the end times of if you look at Revelations, right? Christ shows up on the battlefield at Armageddon, and he has a sword in his hand, and that sword is truth, right? Like truth is actually a weapon. So from that standpoint, I would give him a little bit of leeway. Now I think, from what I understand of the guy, he's going to talk about like hash rate and all this other stuff, and I don't care. But I do think truth is a weapon. And if the right people are wielding that weapon, if Bitcoiners are wielding the weapon of truth, which is mathematical scarcity, and we talked about it, right? Okay, here we go. Perfect example. You just had a kid. That kid is now he's permanently on the blockchain. And by the way, I want to just say while I'm on the show, Dan also helped me when my brother died. He put that on the blockchain as well. So thank you, Dan. I really appreciate that. So those are truths now on an immutable chain that cannot be undone. So the idea that truth is a weapon is, I think, a really important concept. And I think that's what makes Bitcoiners so interesting, is because we're all pursuing truth that some of us want to just, and I probably am one of them. I would love to use it as a weapon. You know what I mean? Like I would love to just know permanently what is real.
For sure. And you know what? To be as generous as possible to that point of view as well. If you break down what anything is, right? Like you break down reality, you're just kind of breaking it down to its component parts. And eventually you get down to the atoms and quarks and neutrons and everything. So if you do that with a protocol, you break it down to what it really is. It's all this code. But at the end of the day, it's this proof of work that's creating this chain of truth over time, and it's scarce, yada yada. So like when you look at it that way, I think what his argument is that it's not Bitcoin itself, but the proof of work. It's the hash rate, right? Like it's protecting that data, and that is like a force field, almost like fucking Wakanda and Black Panther, and they can't pierce the energy force field. It's like this energy force field, and it's just using the concept of needing a proof of work to validate and to secure something. I think that's his thesis as what it is as a weapon. So in that sense, I think that's kind of agreeing with what you said in a more stoner convoluted technology sense from a computer programmer.
That sounded smart to me, but
right.
I don't know.
So yeah. Interesting. Well, to go back into what we're talking about, to go back to the lore, right? And you said when it comes to Bitcoin, you just want your money to work, and that's really what matters to you most. However, at the same time, you are, in present company, we're all the same. We're kind of fanatics about it. So what is it about it that makes you so passionate about it? To want to talk to people every week, the passion is coming from somewhere. It's not just because it works. I mean, your microphone works.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, it's why do I do it every week? One is Jeff makes me. Jeff is a fucking machine.
He's relentless.
He's a fucking machine, dude. And I'm gonna be honest. Like I'm gonna be honest for a second. I would love if our podcast took a turn to be more just general. Like I get the idea of like we have to be Bitcoin because that's our thing, right? But there's so much shit to talk about, like in the world as a general thing. And so I would love to just like you guys seem pretty like whatever comes up you guys are doing. And
I was just going to say the same thing. Yeah, like that's kind of the way this show goes. It's inspired by
the show's called High Hash Rate.
Yeah.
So but in terms of why I do it week to week, like what's important about it, what inspires me about Bitcoin, I really do think it's as simple as it's the truth. Because I since I've gone down the rabbit hole, right? You start to see things, and Jeff always
the catalyst for changing how you think.
He makes fun of me because, like, especially this season, and just between you guys, I'm doing it on purpose. I'm trying to bring up raw milk every fucking episode, just to annoy Jeff. But
should I cut that out of the episode, by the way?
No, you should absolutely leave that in so he fucking hears it. Fuck you. Okay. Anyways, yeah, fuck you, Jeff. Anyways, no, it's like once you start to go down this rabbit hole of money, right? Because money is the most important thing that we have.
Follow the money, right? That's the term.
Nobody wants to talk about this shit, but like either you're knowledgeable about money and you make it work, or you're terrified of it and you hope it doesn't fuck you. That's really what it comes down to. Okay. I was in the latter category. I was terrified of money. I never wanted to touch it. I didn't want to deal with it. I never paid attention to it. I just hoped I had enough at the end of the month. That's all I cared about. Right. Bitcoin comes along and it opens up my eyes, and I start to understand it doesn't matter how good you manage your shit. They're always stealing from you. And from that jumping off point, I realized, wait, if they're lying to me about the money, what else are they lying to me about? And I started down all of these rabbit holes. I started down raw milk. I started down meat. I started down fat content and all of this other shit. And that is what really gets me at this point. That's what motivates me at this point, is there are so many lies out there that I don't want other people to continue believing that. That's why I do it every week. I just hope that something I say somewhere along the line sparks somebody to get off of that fucking bullshit train, and they do something else. They figure out real money, they figure out real food, they figure out real economy, whatever it is. That's why I do it.
So they're trying to conceal the truth, obfuscate the truth in every aspect of our lives. We don't know what's real, and Bitcoin changes the way you think, and it starts to reveal the real.
It's actually kind of horrible, dude.
Yeah,
legitimately, it's actually kind of horrible when you start to realize, because again, I think I'm older than both of you, right? Like by a large margin, right? You guys are both probably what, early 30s, I'm guessing.
I'm 36.
Right? Late 30s, yeah.
Late. Okay, so
I'm 38.
Okay. So you get through almost 4 decades of your life, and you're like, everything I thought I knew is bullshit. Everything. Like, how are we supposed to wake up to that and then not like curl up in a corner and cry ourselves to sleep every night? Like, it's crazy to me, because
it's like drinking from a fire hose at first.
Yes, exactly. And you've said that. Yes. Yeah. And it's like, from our government to our politics to our money to our food to just the fucking daily TV shows, man. Like everything is it's all fucking coordinated to keep you a certain way. And once you start to open your eyes to that base layer, the base layer is the money. Once you get past that, then you start to see the other things, and it's a horrific, it's not fun. I am not happy about my journey. I'll be honest with you. Like you guys remember in the Matrix, right? When Cypher goes and he plugs himself back in, he's talking to Agent Smith, and he's like, I know that this steak is juicy and delicious, but it's not real, right? Like, I kind of wish I could go back to that shit. I kind of wish I wasn't unplugged anymore, because the reality is fucking harsh and stupid and awful, and I hate it. And I'm here for the fight. I'm not backing out. I'm just saying, like, there were certain benefits to not being informed. You know what I'm saying?
It makes it a little easier when there's a bull market, though. But okay, yeah. So I totally get what you're saying, and there's a common theme amongst us, the rest Bitcoiners, of hyper-Bitcoinization. And I have a feeling that if you asked every Bitcoiner in the world what hyper-Bitcoinization meant to them, you'd get as many answers, different answers, as there are Bitcoiners. So what metaphorically or literally does that mean to you? Like when you say you're here for the fight, what are you fighting for? Do you think it's going to be in your lifetime? And if it is, what does it look like? What are you fighting for? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, I'll tell you what I'm fighting for. Same thing I was always fighting for. It's just a different fight now. And Mike definitely gets this now. I'm fighting for my kids. That's it. I won't see hyper-Bitcoinization in my lifetime. I don't believe that. I just, at this point, like I did maybe a year ago, but
I'm with you, by the way.
I think that the world isn't ready for the truth. But what Bitcoin has given me is this idea of self-sovereignty. It's the idea of self-sustainability. And those are ideas that I can pass on to my children. My children, my daughter will learn how to make her own bread. My son he raises bees, we're going to get chickens this year. We're going to start a garden. We're going to move towards total self-sustainability. That is the ultimate freedom. When they can't take your food, when they can't take your health care because you live a healthy lifestyle, they have no power. Just they don't. So for me, Bitcoin is good because it is a monetary system that hopefully won't ever get fucked with, and we can store our value in that. But our real value is in what we do day to day. That's our real value, guys. Like what are you putting into your freezer? What are you teaching your children? That is what Bitcoin really is about. It
Every block
unlocks your
matters.
brain. What's that?
Every block matters.
Every block matters. Yes,
TikTok.
exactly. And once you unlock your brain to understand that what I'm doing genuinely affects my children and my grandchildren, that's power. That's real power. Because you can guide your path to not be affected by the powers that be. I will edit myself.
So part of the reason, to go back to what we were talking about earlier about, being anxious about starting the podcast or to really say what I wanted to say for the world to hear, was I think too many people try to sell NGU, number go up, you're going to get rich, savings, money. They talk about it from this money angle when it's really so much more. And I think that if more people heard us talk about it like we just did for the past 15 minutes here, I think they would get it more. I think they would get it, the fanaticism and the passion and the dedication and the belief and the conviction. I think they would get it more if they realized that the price was like, it's like you got like an iceberg, like the iceberg at the top above the surface is just like the price and it go up and the savings going up, but it's really so much more. You get down below the surface and it's like your life is going to change, and it's not just going to change because your bank account went up. And you learn that, maybe your first bear market, when you'll lose 70% of your net worth in like 2 months, and you realize, shit, I've never been more optimistic, and I shouldn't be. And it's more than that. It's more than the money. There's more than the number.
My wife had a really good job. She worked, I won't say where she worked, although I'm sure someone will figure it out, whatever. But she had a really good job with a really good 401k.
Mm-hmm.
And she lost her job because we wouldn't take the jabs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we had this big pile of cash, right, for her retirement. And I talked with her a lot because my wife, I love her to death. I do, till the end of days. I will love her for all times. But she doesn't quite get Bitcoin yet. And that's fine because she's never been into money. She's just not a money person. And that's fine. That's my job. So I talked to her about it, and we cashed in her 401k at a penalty of like retarded levels. Like, yeah, like it's like 40 to 50 to 60%. I don't even know. We cashed it all in and we bought Bitcoin with it, right?
GBTC.
So what's that? No. I bought Bitcoin. I own the Bitcoin. I put it in my wallet. So the point is like, once you understand what Bitcoin is, that's the other thing. Can we talk about that for a second?
Mm-hmm.
This idea of like, oh, you're what's the phrase? I forget what the phrase is, but like once you get it, there's no bravery with Bitcoin, right? Like,
right.
we had Luke Broyles on for a second. We talked.
Nice.
Yeah, that's not a name drop. It's just we were talking about the concept of like this idea of like, once you get Bitcoin, I don't think there's such a thing as like bravery. Cause like you just like, oh, that's what it was. I saw somebody on Bitcoin Twitter. They were like, I'm gonna put all of my shit into Bitcoin. Is that brave or stupid? And I'm like, it's neither. You're stupid for asking the question. It's like, once you understand what Bitcoin is, then it's not a gamble. You just understand math. Good for you. Good job. Well done. It's like, so anyways, I convinced my wife, put all of this in, we're going to cash it out. We're going to put it into Bitcoin because we believe in the idea of passing on stuff to our children. That's what this is all about,
100%. And I kind of learned, I can't say I was ever really anxious about it particularly, but I work at Swan, right? Like, so if Bitcoin doesn't recover, it doesn't keep going, it doesn't work, which is, like, I don't think that's true, but I have, if you have high time preference, you might need it to work in the next couple of years. And that may not work out, right? We talked about that. So anyways, it's a very high risk job. It was kind of, so I was nervous to accept it when I got the offer. It was kind of a tenuous offer. It was like, yeah, if you work out in 2 months, we'll hire you. But if not, see ya. And so I had to quit a really good corporate job, paid well. So it was kind of a nerve-wracking decision. And now I'm sitting at this point, like, it wasn't really Swan so much. That was the opportunity, but it was the Bitcoin, right? Like I took that leap because it wasn't bravery. It was like, I just have to do this. I mean, like, no way, no, there's no other option. Yeah. And I've grown so much professionally and and it's so many different ways. Like, I'm such a much better engineer now. And it's all because I was like, fuck it.
Yeah, you were still like learning
anymore.
when we first met, weren't you? Like,
no, I had been a software engineer developer for several years, but I was self-taught, and I had a lot of imposter syndrome and insecurity about my knowledge level, my ability. So it kind of held me back from really pushing myself and like taking on hard challenges and things that I was like, I don't know if I can accomplish this. So you don't really improve unless you push yourself. And so that's been like that catalyst for just like pushing myself and pushing it to the edge and building, great products. And now it's like, I have the confidence that I never thought I would have, at least when it comes to a professional sense and just many other aspects.
So let me ask you a question, because Klippenstein is on record saying that Swan is like kind of it has an expiration date, right? Like he's acknowledged, as far as I've read, that like there's going to be a certain point where Swan doesn't exist anymore, right?
Well, the mission's to onboard 10 million Bitcoiners, go public, get it, everything for Bitcoin. Once we hit like this certain velocity, nobody's going to use it anymore. It's like, it's going to be obsolete. Yeah.
Right. Because everyone's just going to be transacting Bitcoin amongst themselves.
They're not going to need Swan.
Right. So does that bother you, or is that part of your plan?
Well, that's part of my plan, even if it is like a short-term inconvenience or whatever, because I got to find a new job. It's like the noble sacrifice. Like, all right, if we get that to that point, that's worth it. But at the same time, the people I've met, the relationships I've made, the skills I've built, I'm really not anxious at all about losing my job. I could lose it tomorrow, and it wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't worry me. I'd pick up something else, but I'd rather work it into obsolescence.
Swan also is a education company as well, at the end of the day too. So
right.
So that would probably be an avenue that they would sort of switch to, or
you'd still have a job, Mike. I wouldn't. You'd be producing content.
Look, AI is taking all of our jobs, bro. Or the people who know how to use AI are taking all of our jobs.
Maybe I'll go. Maybe Noster's hiring.
Ooh, are you guys both on Nostr yet, or what?
So I wanted
I have a key pair, and that's all about it.
I have been lying to everybody and saying I don't have Nostr. That's not true, but I decided that will be where I stay on. And
all right,
because if I need it,
that's cool. I didn't want to be friends with you anyways. Fuck you. That's fine. Whatever.
Ooh, that's interesting.
If I ever
need to set that up.
Yeah, I can. And honestly, Doug can too. He's probably uses it more than I do.
I
just kind of have it.
I honestly fucking love Nostr, dude. Like, we just had our last podcast, and we talked to somebody, and it was like, Nostr right now is literally just a bunch of Nostr dudes talking about how awesome Nostr is, but like the potential is really there, guys. Like, I genuinely believe this idea of a decentralized social media site. Like, I wish we had talked about it more when you were on our podcast, because I really do think it's the future, man. Like, the only issue is the idea. It's like Mike, right? Like, we have to get guys like Mike on board simply,
right.
That's
it's all about the user experience. Everything's user experience.
Yeah, that's really the issue.
Your co-host does not share your
Yeah, well, Jeff
optimism for the future. So does he really? Yeah, he's been going off on Nostr lately.
Look, he's like I'm probably like the only reason I was on Nostr or on Twitter today was because I had this podcast and I had to make sure I could like hook up with you guys and talk to you guys. I'm not going to use it for the rest of the month. I don't care about Twitter. Twitter it's centralized. It's you know, it's okay. Full disclosure, I got banned from Twitter for like a year, right?
Yes, I remember
something
that, yeah.
I still don't even know why. They've never even told me why. So, screw Twitter. I don't give a shit. But this idea that like there's just a bunch of plebs out there and they're just connecting with each other, like how can you not love that? Like it just seems so good to me. The only issue is right now it's the UX. That's it. Like there's it's the perfect set of information. We just don't know how to make it like present good for people. That's it.
I thought it was a little bit. I mean, I've been supportive of it, and I think everything about it is better than Twitter for what you need it for. Twitter can be better just because everybody's already there. But
That's it.
What I think, I was just thinking about this probably a week ago, and I think it was somebody from Blockstream had tweeted, totally unrelated, but Nostr, I think, will be where people figure out. So like it's decentralized, right? So you can't have necessarily all of your data. You have to host it or you have relays, but you need to find a way to incentivize people to propagate and share and hold your data, which you can't just do it on your phone, or your phone overheats. There's just not enough space in the devices that people use every day. But some people would be willing to have extra laptops, extra Raspberry Pis, extra server rooms, and to incentivize them to people all over the world to distribute your data, use the Lightning Network. And you'd say, hey, listen, we just have this very simple digital peer-to-peer contract that's decentralized. Anybody else can find. It's not on a blockchain. It's just hosted on everybody's machines, whoever decides to host it. And they could get, as long as this data, your Nostr data or any data you've got, is reachable from other nodes and essentially the wider internet, you get X amount of sats streamed to you every second until one party decides to cut off the sharing of the hosting of that data, and you're just streaming data and you're getting other people to host your data.
I mean, you're a smart guy. You're into all this kind of tech stuff. Like you could host your own relay right now, and like that's the big thing right now on Nostr is like paid relays. Like you pay 5,000. Yeah.
And
so
you're streaming sats to people to keep propagating your data.
Yes, exactly. There's this idea of, again, it's proof of work.
You don't need a blockchain.
You don't need a blockchain. You just need proof of work. I have a relay. I've cultivated the best people. They like my relay, whatever. So just pay 5,000 sats, and then you can have access. You know what I mean? It's like there's something about. Are you guys on Fountain?
Yes. I'm on there all the time.
So you guys, yeah,
it's a social network.
I knew that,
but now,
right? But this idea of like value for value, you're going to provide something, and then it's decentralized. That's a Noster, right? Like that's what it is, and it's like, I want to see better UX. 100%.
Yeah, it's early. I mean, it's only a few months.
Yeah, and it's like and like this idea of like cultivating your relays. Like I'm not good at that shit. So it's like I have like 16 or 17 relays, and like it takes forever for shit to load, and it's whatever. But it's like the concept is there. The concept of a free market solution to social media is there. We just have to like kind of be part of it and support it. And if we do that, then we don't have to worry about Elon or Facebook, Zuckerberg, or I guess, I'm sorry, I was going to say Instagram, but that's also Zuckerberg. Like, we don't have to worry about who's censoring us. We can just say what we want to say. We can just do what we want to do. I think it's a good thing, man.
No, I'm totally down. So I was thinking about this. It's like the biggest issue. The censorship is bad, but that's only part of it, right? Like they're using our data, they're using all that against us. They're printing money, basically billions and billions of dollars off of our data. We're getting nothing from that. We're getting a shitty experience. We're getting censored, and fuck them. If we had this, I mean, go back to like LimeWire, Napster, torrents, all this value that's been sucked up by Netflix and all that stuff because it's a better user experience. But we had a way to share that value. We didn't need a blockchain, but if we could, instead of having to incentivize people to come download your MP3s or your videos or your porn or whatever, if you had a way to like incentivize sharing and other people hosting that stuff that's not interesting, it's not a movie, it's not something other people want, it's just your data, but you don't want these massive corporations to make money off of it and to use that money they're making to influence the society around you, to give them bullshit, to feed them lies through their advertising and through their blocking of messages. You can now share this data, store it so it's accessible all over the world, including to you, no matter where you're at, for just streaming sats, a small fee. And now you're cutting out these rent-seeking fucking Googles and Apple and Facebook, and now you're giving basically the power to the people you trust, the peers that have good reputations of being good stewards of your data, not selling your data, not letting your data be leaked or lost, the stuff that you want private. And
that brings up a really good point. Like this idea of like the different clients that actually access Nostr. Interesting point. So I've been following this guy on Nostr for a while. I had no idea he was Chinese because I use Amethyst, right? I use a couple of different things to access Nostr, but I use Amethyst, and Amethyst has a translator already. Like it's part of their protocol. So in my mind, he's constantly, he's I don't know what it's called, noting. We need to find better terminology, or like tweeting is pretty good, but noting is stupid. Like he's making notes in Chinese, but because of the thing that I'm using, right?
Just auto translates.
It was translating. It was auto translating. So I thought he was speaking English the whole time. So I'm following him, and like I'm listening to him, and I'm responding to him, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy's pretty cool. And then I just find out today, because for whatever reason, they put the translated from Chinese at the very bottom of it. It's like, so you not only can you talk and speak freely, but you can talk and speak freely to whoever you want to across the globe. And it really just depends on what's the term,
client you're using.
What client you're using. Thank you. That's
how it's processing the data.
Yeah. So you can determine this client is better for me because I'm talking to these people and they're translating and they're doing all of their shit or whatever. And it's like, so it's a completely free market. Like both end user and provider, they're all competing. Everybody's competing for the best tweets, quote unquote, and the best user experience.
So yeah,
that's amazing.
So you can basically choose through a piece of software like which portal you want to use to peer into the digital realm or the digital truth. Like, all right, I need to go international, I'm using this client. I need to go domestic, I'm going this client. I need to go Bitcoin conversation stuff, I'm going to go this client. I don't know.
Think about the potential of that, dude, like from a business standpoint, right? Like if you're going to be like, listen, I am a company that I'm in America, and I do business with Dubai and Singapore and blah, blah, blah. And like, those are my main people to work with, right? So now as a company, I just need you to create something on Noster that allows my company to speak with those people. Like the free market potential is endless. You can pick and choose. You know what I mean?
Instead of having to like create a web app that has 20 different languages supported. You just create one, and then people use the client of their choice to.
And then that company would host their own relay. So they can, like, all of these different, these different languages can intercombine and stuff like that. And like you can tailor your, like they're not all going to deal with Singapore, right? They're not all going to deal with whatever. There's just some companies that are just going to deal with some languages versus not, right? And it's like, why should I have to pay for all of it? Like there's so much potential there. It's so crazy to me.
Wow. And if one relay is censoring or filtering things, you just say, fuck you, I'm done with this. And you move to the next one. And anybody else can make it. Interesting. Well,
I'm definitely
seeing the
definitely leaning
now.
to Noster now that you've explained it this way, but I still don't fucking get it, man.
Mike, I'll be your first follow, buddy. I'll be your
Sherpa.
first. I'll be your. Oh, for the record, I just want to say this. I really think that people on Nostr should be called Nostafarians. I really think that. Okay, that's mine. That's patent pending. I'm just saying.
I like that one.
So here's a weird question. It kind of goes back to stuff Mike's talking about on here a lot, about authentic relationships and making friends in real life and community. But for the people who value the real, we make a lot of friends through the internet, through our screens. And it seems like you do too. One of your co-hosts, your buddy Jeff, you guys met online. You're talking to a guy in China, or a Chinese guy, at least on Noster. What is the ratio of like human friends that you really create versus your online friends that you really form a bond with? Or is it like very separate?
Yeah, it's honestly, so my internet life at this point is Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I have tried very, very hard to make my real life Bitcoin, and my local people are just not buying into it. So they're kind of separate, to be honest. Like they just are.
How do you live near a large city?
I don't.
Okay, so you don't have like a meetup that like a lot of cities have.
No.
Interesting. Yeah.
No, I live kind of equidistant from Chicago and Milwaukee.
Okay.
But again, Bitcoin is niche.
It makes me think that people are going to eventually just move into Bitcoin as opposed to be convinced by it.
Elaborate.
How do you mean? What do you mean?
I mean, like, I have little success explaining Bitcoin to someone on any particular conversation and having them come out of it going, oh, wow, I need to know more about this. Like, they're usually like put off, right? So I feel like instead of being convinced, someone coming to me and telling me what it is, I tend to see that people just move into it genuinely by themselves and find things.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying because I've been there 1,000 times. I don't do it so much anymore, but that just made me want to laugh at the idea of, oh, I had one conversation with somebody and they just didn't get it, as if, I mean, that's all we do once a week on this show, once a week on your show, online all day, podcast, everything, right? It's like every single day we're consuming more. So the idea of explaining it to somebody in one conversation is, it's kind of funny in hindsight.
Are you guys both like urban dwellers?
Well, I'm in Omaha, if you want to call that urban, but yeah, it's a city for sure.
I'm in the outskirts of Los Angeles.
Oh, so you're definitely urban.
I'd say so.
Yeah, I have definitely been moving. I am anti-social by nature, I suppose, right?
Which you wouldn't be able to tell from knowing you online, though. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, Are you being joking? I can't.
No, I'm not being joking. You, like I said, like your podcast, like you just have like you seem like a jovial friend. You just want to talk. You're good at talking. You were a salesman.
It's kind of a curse, dude, because it's like I love the human race and I also hate the human race. And so my wife makes fun of me all the time because it's like I'm kind of constantly caught between the two paradigms, right? Where it's like I just want everyone to leave me the fuck alone, but also I want to talk to everybody. You know, it's a very I don't
That's
understand it myself.
No, that's an interesting observation, because I would say that's a lot of other people we meet and we talk to, and I've met and talked to at conferences, etc. Is that it's like the yin and the yang, or like this contradiction of personality. And that's another thing that I think is why people are drawn to Bitcoin. So you have like these, I mean, it's very much overwhelmingly or disproportionately libertarian, individualists, such. But for the network to work, everything about it is a large cohesive community that's growing every day. And it's like this perfect balance of privacy and individual expression of how you want to use your sats, how you want to spend them, how you want to store them, how you want to secure them, how you want to, etc. And it's this like perfect balance of individualism and still having to be this part of a broader collective, because you can't really just be an individual on your own. No man is an island, right? But you also can't just completely give up the self to the collective. You become a socialist, and you know, we know where that goes. And it's like this perfect balance of I can keep all of my individualism, secure all of my property. You can't fuck with it. I'll put you under so many layers of security and entropy that you'll never be able to steal my money, my property. I can pass it for generations, but I can still interact with everybody else on my own terms. Nobody's got an advantage over the other. We're all have the same incentives. I don't have to trust any of you. I can be myself and there's nothing you can do about it, but I can still interact with you. And that's kind of what I think a lot of us want. Tired of having to conform at work. Can't say the wrong thing on Twitch. Can't say the wrong thing on Twitter. You get banned. We're all just looking to be ourselves and say what we want to say and do what we want to do and interact with other people, and they can't fuck us for it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, dude. It's like, I mean,
well said, Dan.
You know, it's very well said. And the problem that I have as a Christian is that there's this idea that like we're supposed to reach out. We're supposed to every person is a child of God, and you have a problem with that in my view, because it's like, yes, that's true, but there are so many people that are just a-holes, and I don't want to deal with them, and it's like, yes, God loves them, and he should, but I don't.
Well, but that
and I fall down, you know what I mean?
But that concept, everybody's God's children. You're supposed to love them. You don't have to send them all birthday cards. You don't have to hug everyone on the street. You just have to remember that when you're driving through the city and you just want to start driving on the sidewalk and mowing them all down. It just keeps you from doing that.
And maybe that's all I need.
And that's and that's how you get the C- or the passing grade as a Christian. You just don't veer onto the sidewalk.
Well, I'm not going to try that one at the pearly gates, but I appreciate it.
No, we've had that conversation on here before about the Old Testament. If you kind of abstract it out a lot, like what it's like this after you get past like the history of like the founding tribes and such, is like this oscillating roller coaster ride of trying to have the perfect society. You've got King Solomon and King David, and then they fuck up, and then the Babylonians come in, and everything gets messed up, and then they rise back up again. They're trying to create the perfect society as a collective. And you get to the New Testament, and it's like, yeah, that's great, but maybe you should focus on your inner journey and your like how can you be a better person? What is your relationship with God? How about you focus on that? And then if you can perfect yourself, maybe you can start to make a better society, but you got to perfect yourself first. You got to get your house in order.
The entire scripture from Old Testament to New Testament really is about your relationship with God. The bonus that we get is that the New Testament is what is you're right. What is your relationship with God at that point? So,
right.
Yeah, let's not get into Old Testament because it gets hairy. Yeah. It gets hairy.
Yeah, I just think it's more of like, to me, the theme of the Old Testament is like, how can we be better? And then the New Testament's like, how can I be better? And then you have that, that relationship aspect.
I mean, I'm going to disagree with you. I think
okay.
I think that Old Testament and New Testament are very complementary when you dive into them.
Mm-hmm.
From the standpoint of God has always he's always looking for us to turn to him. Okay. And in the Old Testament, he had a lot of rules. He had
like a strict father.
Sacrifice and strict. Yeah, he was very strict and everything else. And then in the New Testament, he very much comes to us, and he lays it all out in a very personal way. So
that's kind of similar to life, though, right? Like at least a lot of people's lives, like you kind of have this, you're trying to be strict and go by the rules, and you're harsh on everybody else. And as you kind of get older, you start to empathize and you start to see like, hey, it's hard and I just got to make myself better. Maybe I'll see things through a better light.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of why I am a Christian, is because he came to us and he said, I get your pain because I am human. I'm also a God. I am the God, but I am human. And so I feel hunger. I feel pain. I have to go to the bathroom. Like he's all of the things that we are. And but also I'm God. So, I get your pain. I understand what you're doing, but also salvation is get your shit together, and get your shit together by believing in me. That's the New Testament, in my view. Get your shit together, believe in me, because I get you. I understand it.
For sure.
Doug, do you have any closing thoughts you want to leave with us tonight? Because I want to hear something that you've been thinking about.
Oh, yeah, I do, actually. Here's what I'd like to say. I think Bitcoiners need to understand their position.
Okay.
We are free of the shackles of money. We are free of the blinders that the government has put on us. We need to stop acting like we're still blinded. Okay? There are so many people in our space right now that they're still, I don't know what the fuck they're doing, man. Like honestly, they're quibbling, they're arguing, they're pissing on each other. Stop it. Just we have access to the truth. And this is not a Christian thing, although it could be if you want it to be, that's fine. We have access to the truth. The truth is the money. Start there, focus on it, and stop peeing on each other, man. It's just weird. It's gross. It's not cool. You know what I'm saying?
Just talking about the infighting.
Yeah, the infighting. Stop it. It's stupid. Dieter Bob, fuck you. Okay? You fucking little Chihuahua bullshit motherfucker. I'm so uninterested in that shit. I want us to start focusing on building as a collective as opposed to pissing on shit. That's what I want. That's my take. That's my one take is stop that shit.
So maybe that is the value of Nostr, right? Like you've got take out a lot of noise, take out a lot of posturing, a lot of clout chasing. You just kind of get to something like, how can we make this
the
better?
Clout chasing has got to stop, dude. The clout chasing. And can I just say this for a second?
Say it.
We had Luke Burrells on. Okay. Now there's a lot of people that are pissing in his Cheerios. Okay. And I'm one of them from a certain perspective. Okay. From this, he came out of nowhere. He's saying a lot of the right things. Everyone's interested in hearing from him. But I got to say, all right, to Mike and to Dan, I'm going to tell you guys both right now. Get him on your show. Okay. If you don't think he's legit, I want to hear from both of you. But honestly, the kid seems like he's legitimate to me.
I've heard him on a few shows, and I'm going to listen to yours. It's queued up on Fountain. I do like him. I agree with you that it's kind of strange. He kind of comes out of nowhere through the same channels that other people like that have. But it's hard not to listen to him and get excited.
Yes. So, and to be fair, I think a lot of what he's doing is he's kind of just saying, and I will say this to his face, so that's fine. But I think he's kind of just repeating a lot of what he's heard, and that's fine, because for whatever reason he's a lightning rod right now. But he's not. We talked. Okay, so Jeff and I talked to him for a good 30 minutes off air. Right off of our podcast, and he was legit from the podcast all the way through those whole 30 minutes. And I just feel like, I don't know, there's something about this kid that, if I'm wrong, that's fine. But right now I'm in Luke Burrell's camp. I'm just saying.
I lean that direction.
Yeah.
I
think he's legit. I hope it doesn't get corrupted or get co-opted, but because we've seen that before, like Bitcoin has no kings, Bitcoin needs no kings. I'm not doing that shit, but I get him on your show. Just do it. And both of you come back to me, like private channels, whatever. Tell me what you think, because I'm curious. I'm curious what you guys think, because he's got a lot of good shit to say. And the thing about him, this is interesting. When you get him on the show, all right, Dan, Mike, tell me this. Here's the thing about Luke, is you ask him a question, he will pause for like 15, 30 seconds, and he will compose his answer. So it's really interesting to me to watch him do that shit, because if you listen to most podcasts, like tonight, I jumped on every answer. I jumped on it because I'm stupid and I'm awful and I'm not prepared for that shit. He's thinking about his fucking ansers, dude.
Very deliberate.
Cool. Yeah, very deliberate.
I'd love to talk to him. I'll reach out for sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and drop my name. It's cool. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I will. But Doug, tell the listeners where they can find Why Bitcoin, because it's great. You should definitely listen to that. I would say listen to it on Fountain, stream some sats, earn some sats. And where can they find you on Nostr? Give them the 15 digits random character string that they can type in.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. No, first of all, let me say thank you to both of you guys. I love this. This is great. Please, can I just beg you guys to have me on again? That'd be great.
Oh, absolutely.
Of course. Absolutely.
We have a lot to talk about.
This was a lot of fun. Yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. I really appreciate the open forum. This is very cool. You can find me on Noster at Bearded Hodl. I think hold on a second. No, I can't.
Thank you for all of that, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, you guys are great. I really appreciate it. Just find me on Noster at Bearded Hodl. I think it's nosterplebs.com. I don't remember what I signed up for. You can find me on Twitter at Bearded Hodl, at Bearded Hodl, or you can go ahead and find both me and Jeff at whybitcoinpodcast.com.
Thanks again for listening to the High Hash Rate podcast. You can find us on Twitter at High Hash Rate, or you can hit up Dan at Heartland Bitcoin, HRTLND Bitcoin, or myself, Mike, at Rundance Bitcoin. That's all one word, Rundance Bitcoin. If you're a fellow pleb or you just want to shoot the shit with two high Bitcoiners, reach out to us.